morning, and welcome to another Sunday service with the Blerd Church of Anime. Who am I? I'm your preacher, your teacher, your cult leader, whatever you would like to call me, your messenger for today. I am Black Star, here to share with you another nerdy, inspirational message to hopefully get you through your week. And speaking of your week, I wonder, how did your week go? Because it is here in America, 4th of July weekend, which means maybe you had to work, which means hopefully you were getting time and a half and all the like holiday pay, or maybe you didn't have to work because federal holiday, yay, even if was on a Saturday. Um, were there cookouts? Were there good things happening? Personally, I overindulged. I didn't have to work on Friday, and my Thursday ended up being kind of crazy. Not gonna lie. I'm not as young as I think I am when I'm hanging out with younger people, and I end up hurt on Friday and then had a lot of things to do on Saturday, and now I'm kicking it with y'all on a Sunday morning. So it has been a weekend. Hopefully, y'all's are calmer unless you wanted the crazy weekend, unless you wanted to be out and about with family or friends and cooking out and do whatever you do on the 4th. I personally don't think I really celebrate the 4th. I try to keep it black, 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 black on black on black on black, because I always say happy Independence for Everybody Else Day. But that's getting a little too political right now. But that's how I kind of felt about it. But I do like a hot dog and I do like some fireworks, just not in official capacity of doing stuff where the city, state, government is trying to do whatever. That's me. I am also taking an anime break. I mentioned this probably earlier that I want to do like a little bit of a minute anime fast for the month of July. For the month of July, I am not watching Crunchyroll or High Dive. What I am going to do instead is catch up for a lot of other shows that I've. Dante, girl, cat. That's what happens when you try to be in my light. Here we go. Here's the familiar. Y'all don't get to see the most. Say hi, Dante. Hi. Okay. I'm gonna keep her trapped here with me. But I was saying, I'm taking a little bit of an anime hiatus, so no Crunchyroll, no High Dive for me, except for that time I got reincarnated as a slime, because the second half of this season is my favorite part of the season. So I absolutely have to like, I'm not skipping that. But everything else, I'm trying to catch up with a lot of other things that are around and happening. So we'll we'll still have things to talk about. It's just I'm not going to be on the new of the July season that is starting, and I'm breathing through it because I do need to take a little bit of a cleanser. I do. On that other note, though, uh, this has been an official whole year since the podcast got up and running. That's right. Our first episode was the first Sunday of July in 2025. And look at us now here in 2026. 50 something episodes. If we even got that up to, I don't think we got to the full 50 episodes. We're going to try out for this year, although there are times when, even the church has to take a break. But we're here kicking. I hope you've enjoyed the episodes as we move into season two, expanding our role and other things that we're talking about, which you'll see today or for most of July. And of course, we got our website now, so hopefully you're checking out the website, being a part of the community, telling more people about it. It's just season two, this we're gonna keep growing, we're gonna keep going, we're gonna keep doing more things, bringing in new people to give messages as more people understand and learn more about the literature of anime. That's all I'm gonna say on that for right now for what our future plans look like. But anyway, let's get into it for this week. What are we talking about? And for me, not watching anime right now, there are some things that I am still catching up on, still things I'm watching, and there's other things I'm very nerdy about that I hope that you'll be nerdy about me. So if anyone asks you, this is the D&D episode. So like lock in. This is for my Dungeons and Dragons player. If you don't do D&D, maybe you'll learn some things. So, keep listening, keep watching. If you are a D&D player, I feel like I'm still such a newbie at it, but I do generally like D&D. I used to watch Critical Role, of course, watching The Legend of Vox Machina and the Mighty Nein, which is the main thing thing we're talking about today. Yes, we're getting a D&D lore. Why D&D lore? Well, I'm glad you asked. Um, Again, American. While watching the World Cup happening too, always a big fan of the World Cup and seeing things like the Olympics where different countries come together. You see some of the unity, you see some of the infighting, you get to know what's happening on different continents, you get to learn some more geopolitical stuff happening around. I always love that stuff around the competition. I always want to learn like why are we cheering on one team versus another? What's all happening in the political landscape. But again, being an American, I realized that we're so freaking divided. And even with July 4th coming up, and even with America's 250th birthday that just happened, we couldn't even get a unified celebration to be like, hey, everybody, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, whatever, this is how we're going to spend. It has been super, super like politicized. And even when people are like, I don't want to politicize it, I just want to like go and engage in the 250th because I was around for the 200th and that was really important to me. I think it's super important to know like this is not how it was supposed to work, but because of the person we have in office and single pants and stuff, this is the norm. Like we can't act like it's not the norm. But there's some things a part of it where like, but where can we do to kind of break this idea that there's all these people we can't get along with, all these people we don't want to talk about? Like, how do we break out of our silos? And I'm not about being the bigger person. I'm a petty queen. Let's be petty all the time. But there is a place for that stuff to work and a place where it doesn't. And that's where D&D comes in for me. Um, as someone who does a lot of early campaigns, I haven't been on campaigns that have lasted years yet, because it's always, I move around a lot. I've worked with a lot of I love working with new dungeon masters because, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm not going to like, well, actually to death about this type of thing. Um, but one of the things I really like about starting new campaigns is like there's this idea of these individual characters getting together and through the story figuring out like we have to work together. And we have to work together despite what our alignments, what we're saying we want to do, and what we're saying who we are. Because I typically play as a lawful good character, and not because I believe in lawful goodness, but because it's easy to troll all the chaotic neutral and chaotic evil there's so many folk who love playing chaotic neutral and chaotic evil, and I feel like you need the balance, or sometimes chaotic good, but you need the balance of the lawful good. And I can get really annoying, like this is me being petty to my teammates, my campaign mates along it. But you get all these very different aligned characters with these different backstories, and you have your game master saying, y'all are now a team. You have to work together. Dante, girl, you now have to work together to make this thing happen. We have, so that's not even a clear goal. It's just that we're all together. We pick the people along the way. And as we go through the story, the goals kind of write themselves. Kind of, but like the game master Jim is clearly like leading us on this path to like solve the mystery, help the person, defeat the evil, defeat the creature, whatever it is, help the person with the backstory, blah 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 blah. And what I love about D&D is like your actions have consequences, and it's not just one person running off and doing one thing. Like, of course, it could be this one particular person who is not the friendliest to the group, but they don't get to just run off and do whatever, because whatever they do is still affecting the gameplay for everybody else. Think of this as a life lesson. Because if it is a life lesson, it's like, okay, we're working with different people we just met a lot of times in a new campaign, people you're trying to get to know. And again, different alignments, different races, different skills, strategies, different ways to look at a problem. And we're all like, okay, we're gotta figure out this problem together. And yes, I've been around some real jerks when playing. And when I say jerks, like everybody else on the team is like, the way we want to get out of this is to just leave. And someone else is like, no. we must do it this way. And I've been the jerk sometimes when one of my particular characters gets around goblins. It's like, no, we don't leave any goblins unkilled. Like we must knits all the goblins. That is like their one thing they have to do. And then watching how my teammates react to me being all murder hobo when I'm not always typically the murder hobo with my character. It is what it is. But I think it's very interesting that I think anyone who's ever played a one shot or a new campaign has learned how to deal and work and negotiate with people who don't have the same background, don't have the same alignment, don't have the same skills, and may not even have the same beliefs as you're walking through the campaign. But somehow you get through hours and hours of it until you're a team that kind of works together. And I really like this. Again, let's say you've never played D&D. You're like, okay, what do you mean with that? I like this a lot in the Amazon Prime Critical Role show, The Mighty Nein. Because, like, don't get me wrong, Legend of Vox Machina is amazing, but the team has already been established. We're coming, kind of already coming in with the team of being together, although we do get some backstory. The Mighty Nein, I think, is really interesting to see how those people come together and then figure out what their main goal is, because everybody has a somewhat different main goal. It's just that we're all going towards the same thing. So if you've never watched The Mighty Nein, first off, you totally should. It's super good. But there's some main characters. So there's Jester. Jester is a tiefling cleric who is trying to just leave her town and go to a safer place because she's pulled way too many mischievous plots that's going to get a lot of people she cares about in trouble if she doesn't leave. We get, whenever I think of Jester, I automatically have to think of Ford Stone, who is a half orc warlock and is taking on this persona of a captain sailor thing, who also has mysterious powers that I'm sure they get into the second season. But he is there to help escort Jester to this new place. So that's like those two together trying to like figure out what their goal role is. You get Caleb, this scruffy kind of sack of a human wizard with tragic backstory, of course. Trying to, kind of stay in under, really trying to stay under the radar, but meets up and start working with Not the Brave, a goblin rogue, who, first off, Not is like the best character. She is the best character, just in my personal opinion, even from watching Critical Role and knowing what's coming up next, but also very interested in how this is going to play out in the actual Mighty Nein Amazon Prime show. But she's an alcoholic who really like takes to Caleb and loves the magic he can do, and so she's trying to really support him as he undertakes his magic. And she has her own tragic backstories, I'm sure we'll get to eventually in season 2. So they're together where Not is just really there to help Caleb, and Caleb is trying to not get found out because he's his backstory. Then we get Bo. Bo is a monk, human monk, who's part of this Cobalt Soul, which is this like investigative monk, whatever, where she's supposed to help get rid of corruption. And she doesn't work well with other people, but she is chasing this lead of where corruption is happening within the kingdom, which leads her to Caleb and the rest of the group. So she again has kind of like what her main goal is. And then it kind of like round them out right now for season 1. We have Molly Tea Leaf. I think it's like Molly Tea Leaf, who is a tiefling, tarot card reader, works at Traveling Carnival. Things don't go well for the carnival, and so he kind of just like gets encompassed to everybody else's BS. But you always end up having someone like that. I think eventually they get the Widowmaker, because she's in the original like Critical Role girl, but it hasn't happened yet in the storyline, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. Who's a barbarian, the pretty interesting. But yeah, so we have these characters. They create a ragtag group, adventure group, because of the steps they need to do to get to the final goal, which their goals change along the way. Like I said, there is Jester and Fort, which are just trying to get Jester to a safe place. There is Caleb and Not, which is like not just supporting Caleb and his wizardry. And then there is Bo, who's trying to track down corruption. And then Molly, who's just like, my poor carnival. But it works, and they become heroes in their own right because they end up working together. And after a lot of fighting and not trusting each other and showdowns and posturing and a lot of things that happen, you kind of see them build to be like, what is our main goal and how can we support, how do we get everybody where they need to go by supporting this main goal? And I think that is really interesting and very serious conversation to have with like how we as a, when I say we, it's with the US again, as a country are dealing with people. And this is how you can personally, even if you're not in the US, are dealing with people. I think a lot of times we don't want to be around people who don't align with us, who don't have share our beliefs. And that's fine. Because like I don't want to be around someone who believes that I shouldn't exist or that I don't deserve rights or that I'm less than human. Like that is terrible. But those people exist. And my face on this one because like I don't think I'm the person who is built to change the minds of folk who are vehemently against me as a person, as a being, as my whole self, because I'm way too petty and sarcastic for that. Like I'm just gonna be very honest with y'all. But there is a place of like if we have common goals, if we're trying to like really work on something and make it happen, that I think there's some pieces I can get past if we're actively working towards the same goal. And I think that's where we found a lot of the differences where we don't know what the goal is or we can't seem to share and talk about what the main goal should be. And then that's why we cannot get along with people who are different from us, why we cannot get along with people who are differently aligned with us, why we cannot get like in real life, again, I know real life is not D&D, where all of a sudden we're just put together, we met at tavern, and now we're going out saving children from dragons and helping the merchant to the things so you can get the money. I know. But a lot of life is that when you're in college and you have to do a group report or a group project, when you're working and they refuse to let you work alone because you need other people to support the project that you're working on. You ain't gotta like everybody. You may not agree 100% with like what their beliefs and how they want to handle everything, but there is a piece of you that's like, we do share a common goal, and if we're gonna be on a team for this, I need us to figure out how both of us can work towards it. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Um, I think isolating yourself away from folk that are different from you weakens you a little bit, where you don't get to understand and see all the full viewpoints. And like I never want people, especially those who are oppressed, those who are marginalized, especially in certain countries and the US, to put themselves where they'll be in harm's way, whether it's physically, psychologically, emotionally. I do want folk to freaking grow up and like understand that even if you don't like a person, even if you don't understand where that person's coming from, even if you don't have their experiences, they are still a human being and deserve respect. And I don't like working with people who will refuse to respect me and respect the people like me and respect my family, respect my people. 100% there. Like, again, I'm not saying we just turn the other cheek, let things go. I am not saying that. I'm saying that in D&D, sometimes you don't have the option. Sometimes the only way you're going to survive is to work with the jerk, is to work with the cleric who is lawfully good and refuses to let you steal the money for the orphanage. Even though if we refuse to let you leave the job undone. Or you have to work with the lawful evil person who knows how to get into the castle of the big bad or talk to the secret society that you're trying to deal with. Like the story can go on. Like I love how a GM can create a masterful story with everybody's backstory, but everybody's is important. I know it doesn't feel that way in real life, but if you believe in any type of higher being or whatnot, I do think that game master is like literally pulling and pushing us together so that nobody gets casted out. And I think we just have to be mature enough to realize we ain't always gotta like each other, but you're gonna respect me. And if we have a common goal, I will do my damnedest, excuse my language, to get us to the place we need to do. And you need to like be on the same length with me as well. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not gonna, I don't know, like, I don't know if I can expound more on that. And I get like when we look at critical roles campaigns in the Mighty Nine, you know, everyone at their core is a good person. Um, I mean, people who did terrible things and have regrets, 100% that is there too. I think it is, and I think we recognize there are people in this world around us, in our countries, in our cities, in our states, in our towns, in our workplaces, in our churches, who are not generally good people, and you don't want to be around them at all. I get that. I'm not discounting that at all. Real life is very different from a game of Dungeons and Dragons. But I think there are some core things we can do about how we are able to use our characters to work around some of the worst impulses of our people in D&D and be able to still get things accomplished. I think this all boils down to is if you do it in a fantasy game, if you have a clear goal, if you know having that clear goal and knowing that coming into a space like a D&D game where you know I'm going to have to work together with characters I don't know who are shady or whatnot or have different alignments or want different things, but we know that as we go through this game there's going to be major goals that we have to work together to achieve. I think we can still put that principle in place in real life. Now, when you meet somebody like, I don't know, but if we had a similar goal, if we know that we are going to have to use each other in order to achieve the things that we want in the end, then maybe we'll be able to get along with a lot more people. And then maybe we might start to respect a lot more people. And then maybe a lot of people start respecting us and understand that, like, we are crucial to getting to a better world, whatever a better world looks like. Because I think that's also something we got to definitely discuss when we're talking about what we want in life as a whole, folks. So yeah, if you haven't watched any of the Critical Role campaign stuff, like if you need a shorter thing, I desperately say you should do the Mighty Nine. Um, uh, the Legend of Vox Machina is also terrific. Oh my gosh, the characterizations there are amazing. But again, it's 4 seasons now, so you gotta have some time to like really dig into it. And if you don't have the time, the Mighty Nine, unless you're like, I don't want to wait for season two, because who hate? We all know, so anime fans hate waiting for the next season, where you're like, that's so much more we could talk about, especially on the cliffhangers they leave us on. But either way, both shows are great. Um, I also say like watch Critical Role's actual live D&D campaigns. I think all people could get into a little bit of D&D, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of imagination, a little bit of character. I talk to a lot of people who run campaigns, especially those who run them with children and like school age folk, and it's really just getting kids to do math. It's literature and math rolled up in one, and that's up my alley. I was always a lit girl. I was always a super math nerd. So me trying to get into a long-term campaign is crazy with my schedule, but I really do. I have so much I want to flex on a couple of characters that I've created that just haven't had the chance to, and it makes me itchy because I really want to do more of this role play. I love role playing. It is so much fun for my brain to think through the reasons and psychology behind why a character does a thing. But that's a whole nother thing we're gonna get. You don't have to get into tonight, today, tomorrow, anytime, whatever. But I will say, I hope you have a fantastic week. Again, if last week wasn't great, F last week, we are about this week past this 250th anniversary, the birthday of America, whatever. We're into July. Get your sun, get your heat, stay safe because I know there's been some extreme weather as well. Enjoy the World Cup. things are getting super interesting as we get more down, and I will see you next time. All right? All right. Bye. The Blerd Church of Anime podcast is produced by Blackstar, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.